Если на сегодня инвесторы с германской или, допустим, с европейской стороны, которые заинтересованы в том, чтобы влить в деньги в Казахстан,
I can also imagine that some European companies will try to settle also in the Kazakh market.
есть ли какие-то у вас, может быть, свои личные рекомендации касательно развития агрорынка, агроиндустрии в Казахстане?
Stop people leaving villages, moving into big cities. Support that the government is given should be in making sure that the communities in the countryside that farm, that they continue.
Согласно новым правилам, на импортную технику субсидируется 15% от стоимости, а на технику, произведенную внутри страны, на 25% субсидируется.
Subsidies are good, but they also kind of steer the market to a certain direction. You need to prove the productivity increase, but not the origin of the product that he or the technology that he or she is investing in. So we would clearly vote for a liberal approach.
Всем привет! С вами аграрный портал World of NAN, и сегодня мы берем интервью у спикера по Центральной Азии Германской ассоциации агробизнеса, мистера Дирка Штратманна. Здравствуйте, мистер Дирк Штратман. Касательно казахстанского рынка, сколько лет вы знаете казахстанский агробизнес, сколько лет вы посещаете нашу страну, что бы вы хотели отметить за все эти годы? Произошло ли какое-то развитие на ваших глазах? И что бы вы хотели отметить с положительной или с негативной стороны?
As of course I can, and I'm happy to do that. I've come here for more than 13 years, and I have seen different waves of investments into innovation and driving, I would say, the output of Kazakh agriculture. In the earlier years, we talked mostly about grain production, and today we have a more diversified production that plays an important role also with regard to exporting the produce out of Kazakhstan into the region, but also maybe worldwide. And I would say from a Western perspective, we have always seen a very high commitment of the government in terms of subsidy amounts that were made available for qualifying customers. However, I would say we would have liked to see that maybe purchase decisions could be made in a more tailored approach based on the needs of the individual farming operation. And we stand for a very liberal supply of what is needed on the farm, regardless of the origin. And I would say the word sustainability is for us very critical. So it's not about investing now for 1 or 2 years, but it's to lift the Kazakh agriculture year by year to go with the worldwide competition, and to improve its position. So this is where we see us as a partner. We would always suggest not to consider subsidy scenarios in a business plan. Basically, every investment that would be done in Kazakhstan and any other countries needs to prove itself economically, even without subsidies, because subsidies may change, but investments need to continue. So this is one of the first topics. While there is currently a high subsidy, I think one would have to evaluate, is there a long-term perspective for such an investment, also if there's no more subsidy or a significantly reduced subsidy. In Germany, I think farmers typically benefit from a European Union hectare premium. This is their subsidy. There is less of an investment support like it's done here, so that a certain percentage, 10, 15, 20% of a machinery purchase are supported by the government. This may happen in special cases, but it's not a general rule. And there is also not such a significant interest subsidy, like when you take a tenge financing here, you get from the government, I think today it is from 24 to down to 7% per annum rate. So in the more Western markets, they talk mostly about special depreciation models, so that in your company financials, you can depreciate investments quicker or to a higher extent. So there is a different way of supporting farmers in Western Europe than we find it right now here.
можем перейти к следующему вопросу касательно инвестиций. Допустим, казахстанская сторона очень часто приглашает инвесторов там, из Германии, из других европейских стран. И не могли бы вы, вот, как человек, знакомый с нашей страной 30 лет, назвать вот основные минусы нашего инвестиционного рынка и что, допустим, может быть, пугает инвесторов, может быть, отталкивает инвесторов из той же Германии или других европейских стран?
Okay, understood. First of all, I would like to put it in a certain perspective. If a company considers to invest in Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan may not be the only country that can be selected. Yeah, so it could be in the region, could be, for example, in Uzbekistan, it could be in any place, could be in China, but could be also in Latin America, yeah, for example. So, but companies typically look around the world, where does it make sense to invest, where is the biggest market for the product that they would like to supply or produce locally. And then comes the decision in the evaluation, what are the conditions offered in a given country. And what I would dare to say, and maybe it sounds a little bit simple, is the larger the company gets, the more they're looking for stability and consistency in the government policy. So because they are not planning for 1, 2 or 3 years of business, but they are rather thinking about decades, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So what they would like to do if they sign an investment contract, they would like to be sure that with the signature, the conditions that are agreed will be valid throughout the duration of the agreement, and that not within 1 or 2 or 3 years of a 10 years contract, the other contractual party is changing conditions. So this is stability, consistency of the agreement. I think this is one. And if we look from the operational side, very critical is the availability of suppliers, qualified suppliers that you have that are close by. And of course, it's the availability of manpower that you have to have. So if you have to have a very specific product, the education system, universities, schools, etc., they need to support also this system if it should be a local national investment. The highest motivation for an investor is that the business case proves itself and is not influenced by political will primarily.
Хотелось бы, возможно, узнать, может, вы владеете этой информацией, есть ли на сегодня инвесторы с германской или, допустим, с европейской стороны, которые заинтересованы в том, чтобы влить в деньги в Казахстан?
If we talk about mining, gas, energy, I think you have a very clear defined role, particularly in the current geopolitical situation. I think Kazakhstan has gained further importance. If it comes to consumer products, I can also imagine that some European companies will try to settle also in the Kazakh market, but not only for Kazakhstan, but also to maybe serve the region. So the Stan region, I would see that. Maybe some companies also are leaving Russia to find new production locations in the neighborhood. And Kazakhstan is, of course, one of the options they may have.
Тоже касательно технологий тех же немецких можем затронуть вопрос. Казахстанские фермеры любят немецкую технику, она очень качественная, высокопроизводительная, но тоже вот в связи с последними событиями идут проблемы в логистике, и неизвестно, сколько они еще продлятся. Нет ли таких мыслей у производителей сельхозтехники немецких или европейских организовать производство здесь, может локализовать производство какой-либо из видов сельхозтехники?
Frankly speaking, the recent political events and the limitations that result out of it, they cannot be solved with local production, because even so you may not have to transport fully built machines, you will have to transport large components. So the logistics challenge will widely remain. So I think this will not be a key to resolve this. My personal sense is that the ambitions of local manufacturing need to be divided in what is essential and realistically possible, and what is, let me call it, nice to have. And I would give you one example. And France is the largest combine harvester market in Europe, larger than Germany and others. And there is no single combine harvester built in France. And I would guess that the French combine market is probably 5 to 10 times higher than the Kazakh market.
Есть ли какие-то у вас, может быть, свои личные рекомендации касательно развития агрорынка, агроиндустрии в Казахстане?
Stop people leaving villages, moving into big cities, because this is not only a Kazakh problem, urbanization, this is also a problem around the world, that food is taken for granted, but there is less and less people that can produce the food in the countryside, because most people, they know it's a very hard job, they look for different jobs in the city, they want to have a different lifestyle. So I personally believe that part of the support that the government is given should be in making sure that the communities in the countryside that farm, that they continue, that there is kindergartens, there is hospitals, there is schools, there's a whole ecosystem for the families to live in. And by this, you create more employment than you create in an assembly factory, for example, and make sure simply that life continues throughout the country. So that would be my personal recommendation, and it's very high level. There's no detailed solution how to do it, but I'm just saying this is what we have seen also in other countries, that farming doesn't take place downtown Astana, it takes out in the regions. And this is where you need the people, the education, the support going forward.
Касательно изучения опыта, допустим, я думаю, вы наверняка знаете, у нас есть аграрно-политический диалог, такая организация, Александр Барновец ее возглавляет, и мы тоже часто с ним встречаемся вот на различных конференциях, и Казахстан, в принципе, как бы слушает, что дает немецкая сторона, какой свой опыт передает, но не применяет иногда. Даже вот в системе субсидирования, допустим, там также рассказывалась, какая там в Германии система субсидирования, но мы этот вообще не взяли ничего оттуда практически в свою систему субсидирования. И может у вас какие-то есть рекомендации, может вы бы хотели что-то сказать и передать нашим, может, политикам, нашему Министерству сельского хозяйства, что необходимо делать в системе субсидирования, чтобы она была более эффективная?
I would say the first very natural thing is to very well listen to the farmers and producers' voice. And I think Kazakhstan is well organized with the producer organizations, vegetable union, grain union, etc. So you can't talk to every farmer for sure, but at least listen to where their heartbeat is, where their limitations are, and take the discussion from there. And then, of course, try, for example, use the German agribusiness community to say, this is our challenge, we have this and this idea, what do you think? So I would say it's very dangerous to try to do a copy-paste. You know, what works in Germany may not work here and vice versa. So therefore I think it's more a consultation, brainstorming together that will bring us forward than just saying, we have done it in Germany like this, this is also your way to go. I think there I would be very careful. This is what Per and myself, we are trying to do now, but also in this NAN conference that we are planning to do in October here in Astana, to look through the eyes of the Kazakh farmer about the new opportunities that maybe can be captured, and not just look with our, let's say, German, French, Italian, Dutch view on this, but rather live out of the local situation what can be done better in the future. So, and this discussion we would like to enable and maybe bring in some of our experience, our learnings, our mistakes that we did ourselves, etc.
Последний такой немного, может быть, каверзный вопрос касательно нашей политики субсидирования в Казахстане. То, что, допустим, согласно новым правилам, на импортную технику субсидируется 15% от стоимости, а на технику, произведенную внутри страны, на 25% субсидируется. Вот как по вашей оценке, это правильно или это неправильный путь?
Well, we feel that Kazakh farmers, like every farmer in the world, can choose the best technology for his or her operation. And we would clearly favor that there is no differentiation between if it's coming from China, United States, Kazakhstan, Italy, France, Germany, because this will allow for, I would say, a better return of investment. Subsidies are good, but they also kind of steer the market to a certain direction. And I would say every farmer needs to be, when he receives subsidy, he needs to prove the productivity increase, but not the origin of the product that he or the technology that he or she is investing in. So we would clearly vote for a liberal approach, but of course this is a sovereign decision of the Kazakh government, which we can basically not dispute, but we see that the most liberal farming countries are the most productive, the most successful ones. For us, this is, looking back, this is a proof that giving freedom to the farmers is one of the best means to increase the output.
Все хорошо. Спасибо вам большое за интервью. Будем всегда на связи. Может быть, тоже какие-то у вас будут новые предложения для обсуждения, или что-то захотите сказать после ваших проведенных конференций, тоже выступить с каким-то, может, посланием для фермеров или посланием для бизнеса казахстанского. Спасибо за интервью.